Caitlin Clark breaks 15 records in one game versus Connecticut Sun. Nobody has ever done this. Welcome back to WNBA Hoops TV. Today, we're diving into a story that has basketball fans talking everywhere. Because one night in the WNBA world created a moment that felt almost impossible to believe. Caitlin Clark has already changed the way people look at women's basketball. From sold-out arenas to record-breaking television audiences, her journey has been filled with moments that seemed too big to happen this quickly. But on this night, against the Connecticut Sun, something different happened. Something that made fans stop, rewind the highlights, and ask one question. How did one player completely take over a game in a way we've never seen before? Because this wasn't just about points on a scoreboard. It wasn't just another impressive performance. It was about a player who entered the arena carrying the expectations of an entire sport on her shoulders, and somehow found another level. The numbers from this game created a wave of reactions across the basketball world. Records were challenged. Milestones were reached. History was being written possession by possession. And for Caitlin Clark, a player who has spent her entire career proving doubters wrong, this became another chapter in a story that continues to surprise everyone watching. But behind every record is a journey. Behind every unforgettable performance is a moment when a player decides they're ready for something bigger. Before the lights, before the pressure, before millions of fans knew her name, Caitlin Clark was just a young basketball player with an extraordinary vision of what the game could become. A player who didn't just want to compete. She wanted to change expectations. And that mindset followed her from Iowa to the biggest stage in women's basketball. The Connecticut Sun entered this matchup as one of the toughest teams in the WNBA. Known for their physical defense, discipline, and ability to make even elite players uncomfortable, they represented exactly the type of challenge that tests whether a star can truly rise above the moment. For Caitlin Clark, these were the games that defined her. Because since entering the WNBA, every performance has been judged differently. Every mistake has been analyzed. Every success has been amplified. The attention surrounding her has been unlike anything most rookies have ever experienced. Some wondered if the college superstar could handle the transition. Could her deep three-point shooting translate? Could her passing ability create the same magic against professional defenses? Could she handle the physicality, the speed, and the pressure of facing the best players in the world every single night? The answer became clearer with every game. But this matchup against Connecticut was different. It wasn't just about proving she belonged anymore. It was about showing what happens when talent, confidence, and opportunity collide at the perfect moment. From the opening minutes, the energy was different. Every possession felt important. Every decision had consequences. The Sun tried to control the pace, force difficult shots, and make Clark work for everything. But Caitlin Clark has always had a unique ability. The ability to see the game before it happens. A defender moves one direction, and she already knows where the opening will be. A teammate cuts toward the basket, and the pass arrives before anyone expects it. A moment appears, and Clark has never been afraid to take the biggest shot. That mentality is what made her one of the most talked about basketball players in the world before she even stepped onto a WNBA court. Her college career at Iowa transformed her into a national superstar. She broke scoring records, delivered unforgettable tournament performances, and brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball. But the professional level demanded something new. The WNBA was faster. The defenders were stronger. The margin for error was smaller. And every opponent wanted to be the team that proved Caitlin Clark could be stopped. The Connecticut Sun understood that challenge better than most. They were not going to simply allow a historic performance to happen. They were going to test every part of Clark's game. Her decision-making, her patience, her ability to stay composed when everything around her became chaotic. And early in this game, fans began noticing something special. Clark wasn't forcing the moment. She was creating it. Every assist, every shot, every defensive play started building toward something larger. It was as if the game was slowly moving toward a turning point that nobody inside the arena fully understood yet. Because sometimes history doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it arrives quietly. A single pass, a single shot, a single possession that changes the entire story. And as the game continued, the impossible started becoming reality. The records began falling. The conversation began changing. And suddenly, Caitlin Clark wasn't just having a great night. She was creating a performance that basketball fans would remember. But to understand how everything reached this point, we have to go back to where it all began. And how Caitlin Clark became the player capable of producing a moment that shook the entire basketball world. The story of Caitlin Clark's rise was never just about statistics. It was about changing perception. For years, women's basketball had been searching for a player who could capture the imagination of casual fans, bring new eyes to the sport, and create moments that reached far beyond the court. Then Caitlin Clark arrived with a style of play that felt different. She played with confidence. She played with creativity. And most importantly, she played without fear. That mentality followed her into the WNBA, where every opponent knew exactly what she was capable of. Teams studied her college highlights. Coaches prepared defensive strategies around stopping her. Veterans understood that facing Clark was not just another matchup. It was an opportunity to measure themselves against one of the biggest names entering the league. And that was exactly what made the game against the Connecticut Sun so fascinating. The Sun were not a team that allowed players to create easy success. Their identity had always been built around toughness, defensive pressure, and forcing opponents into uncomfortable situations. Against most players, that formula worked. But Caitlin Clark had already built a reputation for finding solutions. The deeper the game went, the more the pressure increased. Every possession became a battle. Connecticut tried to slow down Indiana's rhythm, but Clark continued to influence the game in multiple ways. That was the part that made the performance stand out. It wasn't simply one category. It wasn't just scoring. It wasn't just passing. It was the complete impact. A player who could create shots for herself while also making everyone around her better. A player who could control the pace of a game without needing to dominate every possession. And as the numbers continued to pile up, fans watching began realizing they were witnessing something unusual. Because records in basketball are usually broken one at a time. A great scorer breaks a scoring record. A great passer breaks an assist record. A great rebounder controls the boards. But performances that impact multiple areas of the game at the same time are rare. That is what made this night different. Clark's ability to influence every part of the game became the central storyline. The highlights showed the spectacular moments, the deep shots, the creative passes, the difficult decisions under pressure, but the real story was the way she controlled the flow of the game. She understood when to attack. She understood when to slow down. She understood when the biggest play wasn't a shot, but a pass that created the opportunity for someone else. That basketball intelligence had been one of the defining traits of her career. From her earliest days at Iowa, Clark was known not only for her scoring ability but for her vision. She could read defenses quickly, anticipate movement, and make plays that many players simply didn't see. Those skills became even more valuable in the WNBA, because professional defenses are designed to remove comfort. They force players into difficult decisions. They take away strengths. They test patience. But Clark's confidence came from years of preparation. She had already experienced enormous pressure before entering the league. She had played in front of massive crowds, carried championship expectations, and faced the challenge of being the face of a new generation of basketball. The spotlight wasn't new. The expectations weren't new. The criticism wasn't new. What was new was the level of competition. And that was why performances like this mattered. They weren't just about one game. They were evidence of growth. Evidence that Clark was adapting. Evidence that the player who dominated college basketball was continuing to evolve against the best athletes in the world. As the Connecticut Sun continued fighting, the intensity only increased. Every time it looked like momentum might shift, Clark found another way to impact the game. That ability to respond became one of the biggest themes of her young professional career. When opponents challenged her, she answered. When defenses adjusted, she adapted. When expectations became heavier, she continued moving forward. And that resilience connected with fans because they saw more than a talented basketball player. They saw someone embracing the responsibility that came with changing the sport. Of course, the attention surrounding Clark has also created enormous debate. Every great player creates discussion. Some fans celebrated her impact and believed she was helping bring unprecedented attention to women's basketball. Others questioned whether the attention was too focused on one player. But regardless of the conversation, one fact remained impossible to ignore. People were watching. They were talking. And moments like this were creating a new level of interest around the WNBA. The Connecticut Sun matchup became another example of why Clark's journey had become one of the most closely followed stories in sports. Because every game carried a question. What will she do next? And on this night, the answer was something historic. The records, the statistics, and the milestones told one part of the story. But the bigger story was about influence. A player stepping into a league with enormous expectations and finding ways to exceed them. A player proving that the pressure surrounding her was not something holding her back. It was something pushing her forward. Yet even after an unforgettable performance, the journey was far from finished. Because breaking records creates a new challenge. Once history recognizes you, everyone wants to know if you can do it again. The spotlight becomes brighter, the expectations become higher, and every future opponent becomes even more determined to stop you. For Caitlin Clark, this was no longer about proving she belonged. That chapter was ending. Now, the next challenge was much bigger. Could she continue building a legacy that would last far beyond one incredible night? And the answer would determine whether this performance was simply a record-breaking moment, or the beginning of something even greater. The greatest moments in sports are not remembered only because of what happened on the scoreboard. They are remembered because of what they represented. They become symbols of change, symbols of possibility, symbols of a player reaching a level that forces everyone watching to stop and appreciate what they are witnessing. And Caitlin Clark's unforgettable performance against the Connecticut Sun became another chapter in a story that has continued to redefine expectations around women's basketball. Because when the final moments arrived, the numbers told one story. The records told another. But the emotion surrounding the game told the biggest story of all. This was not simply about a player having a great night. This was about a young star proving that the pressure, attention, and expectations surrounding her could become fuel instead of a burden. From the moment Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, every game became an event. Every arena had a different energy. Every opponent knew they were facing one of the most talked about players in basketball. That level of attention can overwhelm even experienced athletes. But Clark continued to embrace the challenge. The same confidence that made her a college superstar followed her into the professional game. The same willingness to take difficult shots remained. The same belief in her ability to create something special never disappeared. And against Connecticut, all of those qualities came together. The performance became a reminder of why basketball is more than just statistics. Numbers can show how many points were scored. They can show how many assists were recorded. They can show how many records were reached. But they cannot fully explain the impact of a moment. They cannot measure the excitement of fans watching a player create history. They cannot measure the inspiration felt by young athletes seeing someone prove that impossible goals can become reality. That has always been one of the biggest parts of Caitlin Clark's influence. She has inspired a new generation of basketball players who see the game differently. Young fans are not only watching because of the highlights. They are watching because they see confidence. They see creativity. They see someone who plays with imagination. And they see a player who has helped make women's basketball impossible to ignore. Of course, the journey ahead remains challenging. A historic performance does not guarantee future success. The WNBA is filled with elite athletes, experienced champions, and teams constantly searching for ways to improve. Every season brings new challenges. Every opponent brings a new strategy. Every game requires another level of preparation. But that is exactly what makes Clark's story so fascinating. The question is no longer whether she can create special moments. She already has. The question is how many more moments are still ahead. Can she continue improving? Can she continue leading? Can she continue handling the expectations that come with being one of the faces of an entire league? Those questions will follow her throughout her career. But if her journey so far has shown anything, it is that challenges have never stopped her from chasing greatness. From Iowa to the WNBA, Clark has consistently faced moments where people wondered if the next step would be too difficult. And each time she found a way forward. Her record-breaking night against Connecticut was not the end of the story. It was another page. Another reminder that careers are built through countless moments. Some unforgettable, some difficult, and some that reveal the character of a player when the pressure is at its highest. The most important part of Caitlin Clark's legacy may not be the records she breaks. Records eventually fall. Statistics eventually change. Another player may one day surpass every number written beside her name. But impact is different. Impact lasts. The way she has helped bring attention to women's basketball. The way she has created conversations among fans who may not have followed the league before. The way she has shown young players that creativity and confidence belong at the highest levels of competition. Those are the things that define a true difference maker. And that is why nights like this matter. Because years from now, fans may look back and remember the exact statistics. They may remember the records. They may remember the highlights. But what they will truly remember is the feeling. The feeling of watching a player rise above the moment. The feeling of watching history happen in real time. The feeling that basketball was entering a new era. Caitlin Clark's journey is still being written. There are more challenges ahead. There are more opponents waiting. There are more moments that will test her. But if one thing has become clear, it is this. When the lights are brightest, Caitlin Clark has shown she is willing to step forward. And on a night against the Connecticut Sun, she didn't just put together another impressive performance. She created a moment that reminded basketball fans everywhere why they continue watching. Because greatness is not only about what a player achieves. It is about how that player makes people feel. And Caitlin Clark has already created feelings that will be remembered long after the final buzzer. Stories like this remind us why basketball is about more than wins, losses, and statistics. It is about the players who challenge expectations, inspire new generations, and create moments that stay with fans forever. Caitlin Clark's journey represents determination, confidence, and the power of believing in your own ability, even when the pressure is at its highest. If you enjoyed this documentary, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to WNBA Hoops TV, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the biggest stories in basketball. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Was this one of the greatest individual performances you have ever seen in women's basketball? Share your opinion with the WNBA Hoops TV community. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.